people here really enjoy technology and new things? Woo! How many here know you need technology but don't ever want to learn it or actually apply it? How many people here, it doesn't matter what question I ask, you will not raise your hand? Yeah, most of you. So what we're going to talk about today is innovation, how technology will either eat your competitor's lunch or yours. And so here's the good news. Technology allows you to conduct business in radical and unlimited ways. And the bad news, technology allows you to conduct business in radical and unlimited ways, right? There's an infinity, to the infinity degree on how you can conduct business. And I am a recovering broker. I got my broker's license when I was 20. I worked on the finance side. And one of the things is we did things on typewriters back then, for goodness sakes. We drew up grant deeds. We didn't even have email. So a lot has changed, right, in these coming years. And it's going faster and faster and faster. And so I know everybody's been talking recently in regards to, oh, is there the death of the real estate agent, right? Well, you know, the interesting thing about this is it's kind of like the New York Stock Exchange. Way back in the day, you had to go to New York, right? You had to actually physically go there, purchase the stock certificates. So do you think somebody from Florida, like Paul, would be driving down to the New York Stock Exchange in their horse buggy to purchase stock certificates? No, right? So the decentralization over time is what happens. So now you've got the New York Stock Exchange. What then happened? Family offices. Do you know that's why they're mega family offices in New York? Because they had to be close enough to the New York Stock Exchange. Right? And then you decentralize another layer. Then you've got your the offices that had agents there that were your financial advisors. And even today, one of our clients, they teach people how to day trade and have all these algorithms to apply. So first, think of the control of the data, the information, and now how it's disseminated. Does that mean that you don't invest anymore? Absolutely not. It just means the decentralization opens it for everyone, and there's an unlimited amount of ways to apply that and access to it. Oh, and another kind of interesting thing here, one of my good friends who you'll have the pleasure of listening to this afternoon after lunch, he worked with Jeff Bezos way back in the day when they all thought he was crazy, right? What was that, 9 years ago or something like that? And at the time, his whole focus was, I just want to be the best bookstore. So it wasn't a radical innovation, but it was really different, right? And so he identified first through the bookstore, and then what did he do? He created lead generation systems and automated follow-up. And that has recently allowed them to purchase Whole Foods. Whole Foods has been around for 14 years, I believe longer, like 1980 is when Whole Foods was launched. And think about it, 9 years ago, Amazon was losing money, and now Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world, right? Wow, 9 years, incredible. How many people have had their brokerages for longer than 9 years? Many. Okay, we got quite a few out there. Okay, so who's buying homes here? Because you always want to take a look at the data. Data is so critical. It's more critical today in your business than ever before. And who here actually likes to look at data? No one. Okay, yeah. There's two, I think, in the back of the room, right? I always just loathe that part of business. I still loathe that part of business. And guess what we do? Work with technology companies to help them integrate their data and technology. So here, look who's buying homes. Silent generation, 10%. Baby boomers, 16%. Gen X, 31%. Millennials, 42%. So look at that. Ages 39 or 38 and younger to 53 are 73% of your market. So let's see, where are they finding their home? Silent generation, I couldn't believe this, guys. I didn't look this up because it's specific to real estate, because that's what we're talking about, right? 77% of the silent generation goes online to find their home first. 89% of baby boomers go online to find their home first. And this is prior to finding an agent. Look at this one. 99% of millennials are going online, and many of them are finding their home before they ever find their agent, right? So where did they How many people think print advertisement, let's say 5% or less, print advertisement is where people find their home? 5%? Let's see. Less than 1%. Do you remember this is what we used to do? It wasn't that long ago. That's how you found your home and you found it, well, besides referrals, right? But it was a big number. Should have looked that up. And people that knew the sellers, 2%. Home builder, 4%. Friend or relative or neighbor, 6%. Yard sign, open house. What do you guys think on this one? What's that? 7%? Good job. Look at that. Real estate agent. We're getting close to the balance of this one, so you guys should be getting a little closer. Who thinks 25%? 25? It's 29%. Right? And then this one. 51% of people are finding their home on the internet and reverse engineering the choice of the agent that they're using. To me, that's baffling. Remember when they said, oh, everybody was going to be text messaging and this stuff was coming in the future, and I would be like, oh, whatever, right? As a broker, I was, 15, 20 years ago, that's how I was responding to it. And look at that, what are those modes of communication we're constantly using? It's constant, right? Let me just grab a drink of water here real quick. So, look at this. 99% of millennial, a total of the 73% of your total market. And 9%. And this is realtors. I couldn't do all of real estate agents because all the sources were for the National Association of Realtors. And I know who here's from out of the United States. We have someone from Mexico, Turkey, right, in the room. So I couldn't obviously get that data, but I'm sure that there's some correlations between ages and use of technology. It might be a little bit different in different countries. This one blew me away, though. Wow. But what's really cool is you're going to see some really neat stuff today that'll help you with a lot of these. Here's the surprising truth. 87% of buyers purchase through a real estate agent or broker. Do you think that number went up or down in the last couple years? Up? Yes. It was 69%, so think about that. It's just where your market's going. The market increased significantly over the past 10 years of the opportunity of who's using an agent or a brokerage, and it's up from 69% in 2001. And even more than that, the group of individuals, the millennials that make up your largest market that you can go after, they rely more. They're more likely than any other generation of buyers. The thing is, 99% of them are going online. And are you there? How do they find you, right? And here's the key. You're in real estate. Everyone knows what ROI means, correct? Return on investment. Well, the difference is that it's changed a bit. We used to be able to say, oh, if we put so much in ads, or we put, so much into the yellow pages, or we have, we're farming a specific area. There was money that went into doing that, and then we would track the conversion, and it was a data number. How many times were you told, make this many phone calls, here's your conversion, that's how many, Paul knows, right? It was still all about numbers. It's just the activity has changed. And it's about engagement. They don't want to be told anything. They want access to all the data and information. Remember when MLS, you had to get the data through me. And guess what? Zillow came around, changed that real quick. So return on engagement, the payback on your investment in the engagement process. So there's other things we have to take into consideration here, especially when your largest market, 99% of them are going online to find the real estate. So think about key indicators of engagement. Comments, right? If you're focusing online, that would be comments. Shares, retweets, downloads, time spent on page, number of views, even replying to text, email, and phone. I mean, your CRM is it's your gold mine, right? And how many times do we try to have contests or have a conversation or maybe a blog post that we're sharing information because the market's demanding it now. It used to be that they used to come to us for the information. Now we need to give the information away freely and attract and engage those individuals in a relationship. So the beginning part of this has changed, but at the end of the day, it's still about engagement, right? So other questions you can ask when you're either utilizing online, you're utilizing your CRM is, did it confirm authority? Because key influencers are critical these days. Remember when we laughed about all these bloggers that sat in their bathroom or in their bedroom with their underwear on, and we laughed about, oh yeah, that's a joke? Guess what? They're driving in incredible markets. One of a business I'm a part of, and we've taught and trained the executive team, it's a consumer lighting product. And we go to YouTubers that have 5 million, 6 million, 10 million viewers and do an affiliate strategy. Think about that. They have 6 million of their ideal clients and they're endorsing your product or service, right? So did you confirm authority? Because they're looking for it and they're looking for information and influence. Did it generate a positive reaction? And I see a lot of people taking pictures of the slides. I will give my whole slide deck to whoever gives me your contact information at the end, just so you guys have it. So, lead with a give. Now, everybody knows you get what you give and you reap what you sow, right? Just like if I drop this, I don't know how gravity works, but I know it's gonna hit the ground, right? So, a willingness to share information and knowledge as well as connecting and participating in discussions has become fundamental to business success. And I'm not saying this, McKinsey said it in a global study. They did a huge, ginormous study, and at the end of the day, they concluded this, that if you want to be successful in business, you better share information and knowledge. It wants to be free. If you try to, and this is interesting because we have a training company, right? So you're afraid to give it away. We've always been told, oh, wait, no, that's the value, right? Is that information. Well, information wants to be free now. This is an interesting story. We actually, a whole group of us in Sacramento, we decided to test this out because we'd been teaching and training it for so long. So lead with a give. It's a real big part of our marketing strategy. How many people know who Brian Buffini is? When nobody knew who he was, I was one of his students way, way back in the day, because I always wanted to run my business by referral. I love relationships. I love people like Lisa. I love connecting. I do it. It is easy for me. And later on in the day, you'll find out why it's easy for me when Alan gives his presentation. And so in Sacramento, there was a group of us, about 25 that we started out with, ended up to about 150. And we just decided to come together and help local entrepreneurs. We found out Sacramento was the worst place to own or launch a business in the nation, and we thought, let's do something about it. So we did. It's kind of funny, because I got nominated to do this TEDx talk, and everyone asked me, how did you get into that? I want to have one. I'm like, I have no idea, I was nominated. I don't know, I can't help you make any connections. And everybody, although we do know the curator of the largest TEDx conference, which is in Sacramento. And so what we did was we identified 62 companies. Out of the 62 companies, we helped them connect to over $4 million in training, because Sacramento has a program for that, and just under $2.5 million for startup funding. And it was simply by walking into their office and saying, what do you need? How can I help you, Mr. CEO? And after his head went on the side of the table, because nobody ever asked him that before, you gain friends for life. I mean, actually, it made our network so strong in Sacramento, it's ridiculous. Who does that? Who walks up to you and says, hey, what do you need today? How can I help you? With nothing to get in return. It's highly, highly influential, highly influential. And so here was my mentor in giving. This is Karla Nelson. He created a game. It was called Who Could Outgive the Other Person? And literally, we'd go back and forth. I think he went out on his, he was a commercial broker for Wells Fargo. And they say broker, even though I know it's finance, but commercial, they use different words. And so he was a senior vice president for Wells Fargo. And I swear, when he went out on his appointments, he was looking for business for me. Although he was trying to talk me into dating him for about a year, so it finally actually worked. So after a year, I finally went out on a date with him. And he ended up getting esophageal cancer. And so this is him, and this is our daughter at the time, who was 2.5. She's almost 9 now. And he was so influential that even when he had to spend an entire year in the hospital, Everybody knew who he was in that darn hospital. We would like take conference calls, stick him, the doctors would walk up and say, conference call in progress, come back later. They're like, who are these people? And I quickly became known as Scott Nelson's wife, right? Not Karla Nelson. In the business world, it was always Karla Nelson. I was, every time, the security to everywhere, because I stayed there every night for a year. I did an insane, so even in dire times, when the market's not good, when things aren't working out, lean into that open and giving, and it's incredible the opportunity you can create. We actually had a huge group of people that threw an event. It happened to be 2 weeks before he finally passed. And there were over 250 business leaders there. They raised a ton of money for my kids for their college fund. And they basically took the mic and said, we want to say all the things that you're incredible, because you won't hear them, when you pass. And so that's what we did. There's my son, too, who is 5 weeks old, and my 2 bonus kids. Kind of crazy, it's the only family portrait we have, because my little one was just 5 years old. And how crazy and how influential that the most dire time and the dire situation can create the most incredible influence and beauty and relationships, right? And so I thought, everybody knows leading with a give works and you reap what you sow. So I thought, let me see if there's proof of that, because there's not really any study. We all talk about karma. We all talk about all these things, right? So anybody know what this is? This is called a vervant monkey. And they use it in human studies quite frequently because they can experience anxiety. They have social connections and relationships very similar to humans. And so they use them in genetic studies. These guys, if you go online, you can actually find a YouTube video where it talks about it, and they even like to sit around and drink alcohol with their vervant monkey buddies. I wish I was making it up. It's hilarious. And so one will they're in Florida, Paul. There's a whole place in Florida that somehow they brought them over. I don't know the whole history of it. But there'll be people laying out with their drinks on the beach in the sun, and they'll come up and just steal their alcohol and then share it with their buddies. Or one will distract the other one, and then it'll steal somebody's drink right off the bar. It's hilarious. These little guys are hilarious. But what's unique, the most unique thing about them, is that they have this calling sound that they use for predators. And they all live in trees, and these predators that are in the trees, their calling sound's unique to the predator. And when they make that sound, they're more likely to be eaten themselves, but they're warning the other people in their tribe. And what's interesting is the tribes that thrive, you're gonna love this, Lisa. This is exactly what you said in the beginning. It's like we're connected or something. The tribes that thrived were the ones who were willing to make the calling sound, even though they were more likely to be eaten, and the ones that didn't cease to exist over time. They didn't exist. So I thought it was so interesting. That's proof in nature that if you lead with a give, there is a scientific aspect of survival and not surviving, which I think is really applicable to technology, the real estate market, and just where everything's going. Information wants to be free. So it's awesome you guys are all here today, because what a great opportunity not to learn together, but then also connect with each other. I love whoever started that clapping when you said, hey, we're all here to connect and help each other in each other's businesses. It's no longer about competition, right? We have to be competitive, but it's not about not collaborating. So what could you do to help the person next to you, your families when you get home, your clients? Think about that. In marketing, and I learned this from Buffini, give, ask, receive. If you haven't given something, you don't have the opportunity to ask. Don't ask before you give. It's now required, right? You could get away with it before, but now it's required. And then you receive. So receiving happens on the end part of what we do. So as we apply technology, it's still all about relationships. So branding. The marketing practice of creating a name, symbol, or design that identifies and differentiates a product from other products, or a service, obviously. And in real estate, branding is really you. Your brokerage can have a brand, but at the end of the day, we have a relational brand, so everything we do, everything we say, and it's actually lead with a give. That's our whole business marketing strategy. And if somebody brings something to me that doesn't fit that, doesn't go out, doesn't get posted on social media, that's for sure. We've got some real good fun things to share with you on that one. So this is my buddy, David. He's great, by the way. I just interviewed him on my podcast last week. He's a guy who integrates technology and relationships in an operational way. He's absolutely impressive. Just finished the New York Genome Project. Doesn't this seem overwhelming? Geez Louise, are you serious? I was like, Dave, You don't have to start here. You don't have to start and be overwhelmed by every single technology and aspect out there of where to find you. But look where everybody's at. I was even surprised when I was doing the research for this. It's like, I didn't know half of these search engines existed for real estate, right? Because I've been out of practice for a while. For technology, that's different. And applying technology, that's different. And so the same study here, this global consumer study, 78%, because that's what David was saying about him, right? Your profile is what you say about you. But look at this, 78% of people said that they place a higher value of trust in other people's recommendations for products and services than any other source. So before it was you saying something about you. Now, most of what is said about a company, it won't be said by the company. It's going to be said, how many people use reviews in here? I live and die by reviews. It saves me so much time. I bought my vehicle, never even drove it. I didn't have to. I looked at the reviews, looked at what people liked, I looked at what they didn't like. Had it shipped to me, jumped in, been driving it ever since. And we don't have time to go into your digital tattoo here, but this guy did a TED Talk that's really interesting. And he basically says that when you are anywhere on the internet now, every single thing you do, you say, or somebody else says about you lives forever. I mean, there is a company that Facebook just bought. It has like 180 million facial recognition things to find people that can scan the entire, internet to find out where you're at. That's never, it's kind of scary, huh? But it's not changing. Here's the thing, it might be scary, but it's not changing. There's a great book you can read on this. Actually, it's by one of our friends, Patrick Schwartfeger. It's called Anarchy, Inc. I suggest you read it. I learned a lot from it and actually helped him a little bit with the book. It's incredible. And so this is a new time. So when you go to watch a movie, how do you determine what movie you're going to watch? Anyone? Reviews. Let's see. Incredible, right? By the way, that Taste Dive, I never saw them before. I looked them up specific for this presentation. Incredible. You can put a movie in, songs, whatever, and it'll tell you all the other ones you'll like. It's awesome. So it's not just about the one you're looking at. It makes all these other suggestions. Never knew it was there. Millions of people use it. Millions. Insane, right? Okay. So, what do you think people do when it's time to find a real estate agent after they find a house? Right? And there were so many. I could fill up 3 slides. Because there are smaller ones and more local ones. There's international ones. It's insane. There were so many. I didn't even know that Purple Bricks, so I found a whole bunch of stuff about Purple Bricks, because they're a newer one. Wow, right? So it's what everybody else is saying about you. And it matters. If that's how we're going to purchase things on Amazon, if that's how we're going to figure out we're going to buy a movie, if that's how we figure out who's delivering our food to our doorstep, or look at Uber. When we were kids, they told us never get into a car with strangers. Now there's an app for it. And so this is interesting. So it's what you say about you a bit and how you're perceived in your branding. So we're going to show you a couple of things that are a little faux pas in regards to social media. I couldn't believe how much I found in this subject, because you would think common sense would be a little more common in some situations. So this is LG France. Remember when the phones came out and they were making fun of iPhones because they were bending the iPhone in your pocket, right? Well, look at this. LG tried to make fun of Apple's Bend-gate, because they created a whole thing around it, by tweeting from the LG France account that our smartphones don't bend. They are naturally curved. The only problem, do you see down here? It was posted from an iPhone. You might want to check that. You're making fun of iPhone and you're using an iPhone when you're LG France. Okay, this is a great one. So a lot of times this person was at Chrysler and she had her own personal Twitter and then she also posted on behalf of Chrysler. This would be nice, huh? I find it ironic that Detroit is known as the Motor City, yet no one here knows how to drive. Oops. That was just this year. Can you imagine? Because you can't take it back. You can't just remove it. Somebody's there, they take screenshots of it and then blast it out everywhere. Information wants to be free. This is a great, by the way, I decided to go back into my local community and find people in Sacramento, specifically because I have a lot of connections in Sacramento just because I was in the real estate community. Look at this. Blank of the day, which was of the day. No parking except this car gets 2. Hope he or she gets a flat. If your branding is you and somebody's deciding by what they see on your Facebook page, don't think that employers aren't. There's whole companies that are searching you out. Even if you try to get a job, everyone's using it. Everyone. I hear stories. How many stories do we hear? They're like, they weren't smart enough to fix their Facebook account and they said this and this, and then I looked at their account and this is what I saw. Believe me, it's atrocious, some of the stuff. Do not think before they post. You are your brand. Oh, this is a good one. Laziness is a sign of intelligence. I mean, if you're gonna hire somebody to sell your home or help you buy a home or you're a business, you probably don't want to be posting something like that, even if it's true. And this one I had to even block out the below because it's people I know. I was like, are you serious? So after spending 2 months working with a couple, they decided to use a friend of the family. Really? When you contacted me, you were looking to rent a property and didn't even know you could buy a house. Thanks for wasting my time and energy. Liked by a whole bunch of other real estate agents. And by the way, as a broker, this is a big challenge, right? Monitoring these things. Because you're the one running the show, you're the leader, right? How are you monitoring those things to ensure that it's not creating not only negative branding, in some situations it could create a legal issue. And this is how you do it. This is fantastic. Dave and Betty, you are the reason I love what I do. So lucky to work with such wonderful, loving people and gain friends for life. You're going to love Folsom and all of the up and coming in Sacramento. We're lucky to have you. Congratulations on your new home. Doesn't that make you feel good? You just like her even more, right, when you read it. When did she talk about her, except for that this is why she loves what she does? It's all about her clients, right? This is an example of good Facebook posting for companies. And how many people saw this one? This is awesome, you guys. Okay. So Burger King, and I don't even know, do you know what town this was in, Rachel? I can't remember. Oh, there you go, thanks. So Boston, Massachusetts, this franchise owner of Burger King says, at Wendy's, prom, because of course it's prom time, right? Who would do that and promote their competitor who's fast food and sells hamburgers, right? But this is how things have changed. This is awesome. Okay, but don't get handsy, and we have to be home by 10. Look at these retweets, guys. 90,000 retweets, 418,000 likes. Working with your competitor, right? Oh, but it's not. And what I realized is Burger King didn't have nearly the online presence as Wendy's. What did he do? What did they do? Their strategy probably was to go after the millions of followers that Wendy's had versus Burger King. A lot of the comments are hilarious too. They're like, shouldn't it be Dairy Queen? Because Burger King, Queen. And then this one, at Wendy's, looking forward to it. Let's aim for King and Queen of the prom. And he put the corsage in a Whopper thing. I mean, isn't that awesome? 5,642 likes. That's insane, right? Boom, like that. So here's another thing. in regards to, anybody here read the National Association, they call this the Danger Report? You probably do, Lisa. They do this every single year, and it's absolutely incredible information. So I'm gonna go through the broker and then the agent piece, because they do two different reports that compile. So, dangers impacting brokers. First, regulatory. Yeah, that hasn't been so much fun, right? Paper. Good news, we do have some things, technology-wise that are helping a lot with that. The next thing, paper brokerages cause disruption, right? That's a big, huge thing now. One of my friends, Tyler Smith, what's the name of his company in Sacramento, Tyler Smith? He just sold it, or sold a big, huge portion of it to DocuSign. Anyway, so paper brokerages cause disruption. So on an index, the regulatory, 100%. And the probability is 5 out of 5. This is happening, right? We're not gonna go back. Paper brokerages, the index was 80%. Brokers lose control of data. That's exactly what we're talking about, right? So these are the most disruptive things that are the biggest challenge facing brokers today from National Association of Realtors. Now the real estate firms, so this obviously would be the brokers working in conjunction with the agents, and this was the number one at 48%. 48% of all firms cited keeping up with technology as one of the biggest challenges facing their firm in the next 2 years. Who would agree with that? Yeah, most of you. It's rough. It's always changing, right? You have to have a strategy. It could be overwhelming. And this is what we do every day. We work with companies like Amazon, 3M, like I said, we work with Jeff Bezos. Actually, Alan's the one who had the opportunity to work with that, Johnson & Johnson, to do this. It's not an easy task, but it can be done, and you're gonna be able to hear from Alan this afternoon as he talks about the how you can do that. And there's some really neat and exciting things, technologically wise, that some presentations today that can help out with that as well. All right. Inc. magazine, 9 industries that will soon be disrupted by blockchain. I didn't even go here, guys. I didn't even go here. Blockchain AI, that book, Anarchy Inc. talks all about it. Number 1 and number 2, banking and real estate. You think that's someone's coming after, your lunch? So the whole focus is how can you be on the opposition of that? Don't be scared of it because it's coming. I'm gonna guess that Barnes & Nobles didn't take Amazon very seriously. Blockbuster didn't take a whole bunch of different companies very seriously. Do you know Blockbuster had 9,000 stores? Guess how many they have today? 10. 9,000, industry leader, 10. And it was because they weren't willing to innovate. So, where complacent brands go. Analysis paralysis, stuck in the status quo, dismissed anything as a new fad, followed the same strategy year after year, or didn't take challenges seriously, right? So all of those brands, Kmart, Toys R Us, are you serious? I was even sad when Toys R Us said they were gonna close up all the retail stores. They're the market leader. My kids were so sad when they heard that. Although they're getting used to Amazon Prime. I had to make sure that they couldn't order that stuff without my authority to do it. So at the end of the day, this is what I'd love for you to take away. And who here was here from Turkey? They'll know who this gal is. She's actually a scholar, and she teaches and trains the intersection between social engineering and technology. And so what she said is, technology doesn't make us into new kinds of humans. Rather, it just alters the environment in which we act. Thank you very much.